Guys, welcome back to another Brokowskis YouTube video. Today we got our top 24 running backs for fantasy football. Before we get into it, make sure to hit the like, hit the subscribe, because we're coming up with videos every single week to help you win your fantasy leagues. And boys, these rankings are on our 2022 Brokowskis draft guide. If you want this draft guide, there's two ways to get it. The top link in our description will bring you to either Underdog or Patreon. On Underdog Fantasy, for $10, Underdog will double your deposit. So you get $20 on Underdog plus our draft guide, and also on Patreon, we do give the draft guide, plus we'll be answering questions all throughout the season. We'll have our fantasy rankings. It's a great way to connect with. Our RB1 for the season is Jonathan Taylor. Not much to discuss here. He was awesome last year, only 23 years old, not much injury concern. He should be a beast for fantasy this season. At number 2, another obvious one, it's Christian McCaffrey. He may be super risky, but if he stays healthy, he's literally going to win people leagues. His last fully healthy season, 2019, he was an absolute beast, put up over 29 points per game. If he hits, you want CMC on your team. At number 3, we got Derrick Henry. He was leading all running backs last year in points per game before getting hurt with over 24 points per game. He might be the best running back in the NFL. He's in a great situation. Still love Derrick Henry, even with the injury concerns this season. At number 4, it's Austin Ekeler. Last year, he was a touchdown machine, scoring 20 touchdowns. The Chargers offense is super explosive. One thing that's a little concerning for him is Isaiah Spiller was drafted. Ekeler isn't the clear workhorse in his offense, but he does get the valuable touches. He's a PPR monster. He does get the red zone touches, and still a great pick in the early first round. Our RB5 is Najee Harris. He finished as the top 3 RB in PPR last season, was an absolute bell cow. Yes, there's reports saying he might not get as many touches this season, but even if it goes down just a little bit, he still should get workhorse numbers. Love Najee and his upside this season. At number 6, we got Dalvin Cook. He's a classic elite early RB. You always got to grab Madison when you grab Cook. The Vikings offense might be a bit more pass heavy this season, but that could work to Cook's advantage. He could be a bit more of a PPR monster. A great pick in the first round. At number 7, we have our first one that's much different than consensus. We have Leonard Fournette. We love Leonard Fournette this season. Ronald Jones is gone. AB is gone. Gronk is gone. There's going to be a lot more touches in this offense to go around. Leonard Fournette last season was the RB4 in points per game, RB6 overall, had a breakout season. He plays with Tom Brady, plays an elite offense, has crazy high upside. And at RB8, we have Joe Mixon. We like Joe Mixon, but we are a bit lower than on consensus. The positives is the Bengals did improve their O-line, and he's still a part of a super elite offense. But in the playoffs especially, the Bengals proved to like Samaje Perine a little bit and not use Joe Mixon consistently on third downs. Mixon still should get good yards, good touchdowns, but if his PPR numbers aren't super high, he's not in that super elite tier like the other 7 players. And our RB9 is DeAndre Swift. There are concerns with injury. He's been injured every single year, but he's still only 23 years old, still has a lot of upside. He's proved to be a PPR monster, got fed targets last year. He has great upside. He even could finish as a top 5 RB. That's why we have him rated so high. He has that super high upside, but he does have a bit lower of a floor than you would like for an early RB. Next, at RB10, this one's also higher than consensus, it's James Conner. In games last year without Chase Edmonds, James Conner was an absolute stud. He got so many touchdowns. He was a PPR monster. We love James Conner. He does have a bit of injury concerns, but the risk is worth that crazy high upside. At RB11, we have Saquon Barkley. Either you love him or you hate him. A lot of people are fading him this season, but we do love his upside. His rookie year, he finishes the RB1. He's been very injury-riddled since then, but he's looking healthy. He's apparently having a super good camp. All reports are showing if he stays healthy, he's going to be an absolute monster for fantasy this season. At RB12, we have Aaron Jones. This is the highest running back in a committee that we have on our rankings. The reason we love him so much is the Packers wide receiver core is very depleted. Devontae Adams leaving opened up over 150 targets, and Aaron Rodgers needs to find receivers that he trusts. He's proven to love throwing Aaron Jones, especially last year. Aaron Jones has shown his upside being a top 5 RB years ago. Yes, this upside is a little lower with AJ Dillon, but with this PPR ability with Aaron Rodgers, he could be lethal in fantasy. At RB13, we have Ezekiel Elliott, another player people either like or absolutely hate. Yes, he didn't look phenomenal to end the season last year, but he clearly was injured. He had a knee injury. The first 4 weeks, he was amazing. We still think he has great upside, and he isn't even that old of a running back. He still has upside for fantasy football. At RB14, we have David Montgomery. This is a running back that we don't think has super high upside, but he has a super high floor. Last year, the Bears were a dumpster fire of an offense. Justin Fields was bad to start his rookie season, but Montgomery still averaged 15 points per game. The Bears love to use their running backs in the red zone. He should get some PPR work, and we love him as a safe RB2. At RB15, we have Javonte Williams. Before they re-signed Melvin Gordon, he was much higher than this. He was a borderline first-round player, but re-signing Gordon does hurt his upside big time because they're probably going to split. If he does take that bell cow role, this is a steal at this range, but Last year, they did split basically 50-50, him and Gordon. And if that happens again this season, we don't think taking him much earlier than this is worth the risk. At RB16, we have Alvin Kamara. Kamara is a big risk this season because of his off-the-field issues. Alvin Kamara could not be suspended at all this season, but he also could be suspended for the fantasy football playoffs. If you draft Kamara, you were just hoping he either gets suspended early in the year or not at all. If there was no off-the-field issues, he's an easy first-round pick, but drafting Kamara this year makes you have to draft Mark Ingram as well. At RB17, we have Breece Hall, another player that has super high upside, or he could be in another committee backfield. We are more of the belief that we think he's going to be more of a bell cow type role than a committee type role. Michael Carter was solid last season, yes, but they only spent a 4th round pick on him. They didn't spend a ton of draft capital. They aren't super committed to him, and the Jets did trade up to make sure they secure Breece Hall. They have a lot invested in him. This Jets offense should be improved. We love his upside this season. At RB18, and probably our biggest RB faller, is Nick Chubb. The big problem with him is the Deshaun Watson suspension. He's already in almost a 50-50 split with Kareem Hunt, and without Deshaun Watson, this Browns offense could be really bad. RBs that depend on touchdowns and don't have lots of PPR upside are not good in low-scoring offenses. If the Browns don't score a lot, Nick Chubb doesn't get his touchdowns, his upside is not very high at all, and we do not like him early in the draft. At RB19, we have Travis Etienne. Most of his upside relies on him catching passes. We don't expect him to have tons and tons of rushing yards, but he has a connection with Trevor Lawrence. If he gets those passes, he's going to have PPR upside, which will be an RB2 type season for Travis Etienne. At our RB20, we have Josh Jacobs. There's major things going around about him splitting with Kenny Drake, and if that happens, he'll fall way down on these rankings. The Raiders added Davante Adams. They look like to be more of a passing team with Waller, Adams, and Renfro. Josh Jacobs, if he is the starter, still probably will get good touchdowns, but Drake last year, when he played, got most of the PPR work. We like Jacobs a little bit, but if a split happens, we're totally fading Josh Jacobs. At RB21, we have Cam Akers, another player we find super hard to rank. He has a lot of upside, but he also has a super low floor. He looked like he was a good player when he came back from injury last season, but the Rams have also proven they like to run committees at RB. If they run a committee, his upside gets tanked big time, but if he is the workhorse or at least the main starter, he does have upside as the Rams offense is super explosive, tons of touchdowns to be scored. He could have good upside this season. Our RB22 is J.K. Dobbins. If he can stay healthy, he's a very safe option. The Ravens are one of the highest rushing teams in the league. They have Lamar rushing. J.K. should be the RB1, but in his rookie season, Gus Edwards was also there to take care. J.K. isn't going to get the highest receiving numbers. Lamar doesn't love to throw it to his running backs, but if J.K. can get some touchdowns, can get some good yards, he can be a solid RB2 for your team. At RB23, we got Elijah Mitchell. I don't personally love Elijah Mitchell this season, but last year he did prove he was productive for fantasy football. The Niners did draft Price in the 3rd round at running back, which is concerning. But if Mitchell keeps onto the RB1 role in this 49ers offense, he still does have upside for fantasy football this season. At number 24 and last of the video, we got Miles Sanders. He is part of a very high rushing team, but the Eagles just don't love to use him in the goal line. He had 0 touchdowns last season, while Jalen Hurts had 10 rushing touchdowns. In the goal line, they seem to like to run Hurts more. Even the game Miles Sanders got injured and went out, the other running backs went and scored touchdowns. It seems like they just don't like to get this guy into the end zone. Miles Sanders won a lot of PPR points. He should have some decent rushing yards, but we do not like him, and he's a very low-end RB2. And guys, thanks so much for watching the video. Again, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and if you want our draft guide, check out the link in the description. Thank you guys again for watching. See you guys next time.